It's time once again for the laser. It's time. It is time. Let me close a bunch of tabs here. We were doing stuff yesterday. What did we do? I did like half an hour of stream yesterday, so let's review that. And I also realized that I did not I didn't do the get thing yesterday. I wanted to do that. I need to get into the habit of doing that. But so let's start there actually. Oh wait, is this here set up correctly? No. Let's stop this and let's start the other one, which is somewhere here. No, here. Boot. Right. We have ourselves a laser. And so what did I do here? We handled the slots explicitly. We did some stuff about scope that we probably don't need. And I rejiggled the templates and the fragments a little. So that is now cleaned up. We added the unpacked routes for that. And what's the function for that? And that last thing we don't need. Come on, you can close. Let's clean up. We only need to stage this hunk. So this was mostly cleanup, I guess. Commit. Okay. And what's the last thing I did in here? I should get rid of that file. It's annoying me. I'll try to find the last thing that I did. Can I find it in here? Oh, come on. I can't find that. I started doing this, so if I have a fragment, I now just take the first bit of that. Sometimes we have scope, we don't need it for this one. We just need the attribute name. We should also check how fast this is without the debugging, because it's quite fast. But we're now getting to the point where we deal with the component streams, and that's a little more involved. Let's see where we end up. Because we still put junk in the scope, and I'm not quite sure where we get that from, because here in the scope we don't have anything, but in the component scope we suddenly have unpacked expressions, and we don't want that. So where did I put this in scope? Because I went through this and it wasn't in there. But since it's also not in here... Wait, it must be in here, right? And this kind of suggests that I'm putting stuff in here. I think I'm doing it down here, probably. Yeah, we're resolving content here. And that's bad. We shouldn't be doing that. Fragments should just be... Oh, good morning. Yeah, I'm late as well. I woke up with the alarm at 3:30. And what did I do? I dreamed of waking up, getting out of bed, and then my wife kind of in my dream coaxed me back to bed, and then I actually woke up. So it was a nice dream, but I lost an hour on that. So it was a nice dream though, very cozy. But I guess I needed that extra hour. I didn't get much sleep these days. Yeah. You know, the one thing that actually gets better over the years, so once you get out of school, there's like a period of about 10 years when you still dream of, you have these, it's not a nightmare, but it's a dream of some kind of school situation where you're either late or there's like a test that you didn't learn for, or like the classic stuff that happens in school. That's about 10 years that you're still getting these dreams. And then you wake up and it's like, wait, I'm not even in school anymore. This is great. And that hasn't happened in a while. So that's good. Yeah. I really hated those dreams. I also hated school. It's not like school was bad. I was quite a good student, I think. Although mostly because I was just smart and not because I trained or learned very hard. I just had the luck of riding on good marks for a while, and then I fell off in the last few years. It kind of sounds like me too, yeah. Huh. Wait, but aren't you still in... You said you had 2 or 3 years of school left? Or, no, wait, or you're a teacher? Sorry, I forgot. Wait, are you a teacher or are you a student now? Help me out here. You just graduated high school, so you're in Denmark. It's probably kind of similar to Germany, right? Where you have primary school, secondary school, and then you have a few years of either finishing secondary school early or late. Yeah, gymnasium. I went to a Gesamtschule with a gymnasium last 3 years. What's that called? I don't know. So there are some used to have Hauptschule. I think they went away. Yeah, but you have like 3 years in the end, and then in these 3 years, if you manage to get a good result, you then have the ability to go to university. I actually went to university for like half a year, and then I quit university. I studied computer engineering for exactly half a year, and then I stopped because I was starting to program, and that was a lot more fun and fulfilling, and I could pay the bills with that. And I realized that everything that I'm learning in school, I either probably wouldn't need, or I had already taught myself in just doing programming. So we were learning stuff like logic gates in electronics. And it was like, yeah, well, I already built all that stuff in Quake. I used to have... it was not a mod. Can I find this actually? I did this years ago. Hang on. Somebody actually messaged me about that like a few years back. Where was that? And they did something similar to what I did. So in Quake... Oh, there it is. Not found. Damn it. It seems like a wrong link though. No. So I made a PDF where you use basic, what do you call that? Basic mapping entities. Oh, nice. Wait, what is that? Can I still find that? It was on the old forum days. Oh. Let's see whether I... Let's do like 2 or 3 minutes of trying to find this, but I probably won't. No. It's gone. But I made a PDF and shared this on mapping forums, where you would take mapping primitives like triggers and basically guns, and then you build logic gates out of these basic entities, and then you can use that to produce more sophisticated game logic. I did that for a while actually, like building levels. This one here. That was a while ago. This one here. It's the only map that still survives, I guess. Live view? Wait. So can you view this in browser now? That's wild. Let's take a trip down memory lane. Huh. Amazing. I built this map. Well, this is a online map viewer for Quake 3 Arena, but I did build this map. Look at this thing. So I was way into moving entities, as you can tell from this one here. You can jump, and there was a trick where you could jump here, and then you could get up on there, I think. Yeah. But I was mostly about making things look interesting graphically, and I wasn't that concerned with oh, you go here. Okay. I wasn't that concerned with game logic or making it play nice. There's a CTF map. You can do this here. We have Quake 3 in browsers now. I should get back into playing Quake. How do we get out of this? So just close it. But I also built another map that was like a King of the Hill thing, where we'd have to hold a position and it would count up a certain amount of numbers, and then you are the owner of that thing. And it was way back in the Quake 3 editing forum days. But I did that before university, or around the same time, I think. Shortly before that. And then I got into university, and it was either like mathematics stuff that I did not get, and I'm way not smart enough for, and the other part was just old stuff that I didn't really care for. Do you know of an AI that's good at helping with making layouts? No, I don't know that. You can probably just use some Gen AI thing, right? To generate a map overview, something like that. But I'm not sure. Have never tested something like that. I think we want to have a fragment here. What should this be? I think we still want to have a set fragment. We're already getting junk here. So maybe we need something like this here. Well, shouldn't that be in the component itself? It is already in the component. Well, this is already fine. This is already fine. I think I just need to take this and then have the value be this. So we just don't need all of this here. Do we have a default? In the default case, we just merge this in here. Don't do it here though. Do we have some component where we set stuff? Like this here. Ooh, this is already bad. Let's clean this up actually. This should be what? Button type. Because it's kind of always bad when you're setting scope in a component. We should just do this. Have an else case, we do this. And what's button type? The usual button type would be info. And then this would be danger. And then this would be success. Nah. Let's clean up some more templates. Ugh. Still need to be in here. And this is the same bad thing that I just had there. It's the same thing down here. Hang on. Is it the same thing? Maybe. I mean, I guess I could make that work somehow, but I'm too lazy right now. I want the quick fix here. Nope. Yes. This is fine. This kind of isn't. Ugh. This is way bad. I'm bored of this. Let's do something else. where do we concatenate the fragments? I'm just doing scope here. Maybe I just don't need any of that. Why am I not seeing this? Shouldn't I be merging these fragments in there somehow? I did it here. Okay. So maybe I don't need any of this. I'm already doing the replacement here. And this should only count for what, yeah, maybe I just don't need any of this. Just need this bit down here, I think. Let's delete all of this. And when we are still in the first tag, wait, when do we get out of the first tag? Here, okay. So we do need this bit here. Just on all these things. And then we can probably merge these here. Yeah. Let's do that. That's a lot cleaner as well. And the component scope we're getting up here. So maybe this will work now. At least we don't get this anymore. What's the error though? Wait, is this still running? Run this again. Cannot type offset string on string. In 849. Yeah, the U are no longer a thing. That does not exist. Wait. Base functions 592. Why can't I just click that? We wouldn't have scope. We just need this basically. If the fragment is what? is now we are processing the control stream, which means now we do care about all these control logic things. Otherwise, we just do this here. So that's not a switch though. That is actually this thing. And then this is not the default case. This is the else case where we want to deal with the fragment itself. And here we're just setting scope, or we're going into the element and doing the ifs and the for eachs. So this here is probably wrong. We can pull this in here. And so if the fragment is an array, then we know we have control logic. Otherwise, it's just a regular fragment, and we want to know what happens here, because you want to replace stuff there. Right. Wait. You don't have... Wait, that should be -1, right? Yeah. Otherwise, we have the fragment, and that just goes straight in there. A false, right? I was stuck in JavaScript. Now we have stuff. And we kind of have a scope, but we don't. Because why? We're going into a component and we're not setting it. Right. How do we do that? Let's take this value. Yeah, which one are we making? Index HTML. Well, this is a column. So do we like create set elements there? So the two routes that I have available now is either I move the fragments into the control stream somehow. So create a new control thing, and that gets its own scope. The problem that I'm going to run into is isolating the scope. Because you might have a column within a column, but you only want the arguments for the parent column in the parent column, or for the element of the parent column, and you do not want that for the child column. And you're kind of spending the scope there. We never get there to functions 675. Null given. When is a fragment null? Huh. Word. This is already working though. This is good. Just that this one isn't. Wait, which one am I at? 36. Yeah, that doesn't exist. Because I changed this. These are not linear anymore. So that's the issue. We no longer have a fragment count. We have array keys, and then instead of I want to first pull that from here. That should give us the right fragment. This is still fine. Then we have this stream. And then we should at some point get into concat fragment. And what do we do here? Because here everything is resolved. And then we need the type. The type is just part of this. So, oh, and it's also, here's linear. Huh. I don't think we want that. So the thing where we would just add this one. We want to use this one. This. And then we do the same magic Yeah, this is now fine. Now I'm going to do this in concat fragments. And then this will also be a fragment IDs. And then we could have some logic in here that gives it an ID when I'm starting an element, for instance. We can actually do that already, just for fun, to see how it works out. We want the data FUID and that would be the fragment ID. Again, just for fun. But the thing is, we wouldn't have. We need to find out the type beforehand. And we wouldn't have these two. We would not have control logic. And we won't have to do all this, which is good. We've resolved that in the earlier thing. And all these should do is they just should put in the result of this. But before we get there, we need to have a D file where we render this. But we can already delete most of this. So the type, we have a fragment, and the type is the substring of fragment, and there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then we switch on the type. Does that work? No. Because no type start. I think we need the value here. Whoa. There should be an int. I think. Yeah. So we should only have these and attributes. And what we want to put in there is, instead of this here, we want to get the cache of the fragment. And then we inject this here. The same thing down here. I think, no, I'm still leaving these in, right? Not sure. Don't have these, we don't have these. And then this should be the default case. we render with scope. So where do we get this? No, wait, we don't get scope. A scope is a thing that happens in the fragment. Yeah. We do have to glue together the classes though in the attribute. Here. So we're kind of doing it, I guess. But for the text, it would just be printing that out. So we would have to have a default case. And the default case is getting the cache of the fragment. And this also would be getting this. But we do want to explode this for the key and the value. And the value is 0 here. And then the content is always 1. We just have the class here. Content. But this would be resolved. Yeah. It's the nice thing here. And then we check the next stream. And to see whether that is an attribute. Ugh. It's kind of expensive. So let's take the next fragment. If that is a value attribute, let's guard this. And then we need to do the same thing that we did here. So this, but also this would be b plus 1. This would be in the fragment IDs plus 1. We have to do that in a second. We're exploding this, and then we want the 0th thing of this. Let's make this a little simpler. So false. And then we do if is set. So if we have a next item, and then we want to have this is the next item. And this is the type, and this might be class. This is only called if it is an attribute, so it's not that expensive. It might be fine. The rest is okay, I think. But what we're missing is we shouldn't be getting here unless we have these in the dependencies. Oh, yeah. So here we need a D file. Do we already have something for that? Cache, template. This one. No, this is not the one. This one. Yeah. So where we just were, HTMLs.d, which means we should now be getting into this function. We still have a breakpoint in. And this gets the list and just prints it out. Wait, but we always want to be here. Right. Now we have a list. Neat. This is the problem. How do I solve that? It's like a magic variable. And you can already tell that it will just work for these, for instance. If I copy the value, and then I have this template, yeah, this is now an attribute that sets the content to the description, so you can kind of tell how I would resolve this. I would take the scope, which is this, in assignment, and I would run this expression. But down here I want scope. And what is the scope here? And we would only use scope in a component, I think. So that's the only place where I do that. Can I come up with a better solution for that? Because it's kind of magic-y. I don't like that. What I actually want is I want all of these to be in there. So I could put them in an array in here. Let's try that first. Oh. Kind of ugly. Oh, this would also kind of not work. Because I want a key and I don't like it. doesn't feel right. I should figure out some way of doing that. But I guess this is like the ultimate problem case for this kind of approach. And I would only ever want that within a component. So maybe I would have to make an exception for this somehow to make it work. But if we are listing these now, that means we will probably get into rendering template fragments. So let's see whether we actually get there. That's the D file, that's this file. And you might have prerequisites, okay. I still don't know that I want this here. Do I get the scope? Wait. That should be this. Right? Maybe. Let's test it. So we do this is fine. And then we die. But I'm getting a clickable link, so that's good. Oh yeah, this I still don't have node ends. Next node is an array. No. It'll at least make it run. I don't like it. And I'm getting into an infinite loop, I guess. How do we deal with that? Are node ends control logic? I mean, we could also put that into the query part of the fragment, kind of, so that we still have the for part here. But this would also not work. I'm already approaching the point where I see that I'm running out of steam. probably is because we don't have this here. We don't have a fragment ID, right? Yeah. Can't pull it from this though. Do we ever have node ends? This one is an end. 4200. That might work. That might work. We were not dealing with end nodes so far. But I guess we should do this in the control stream, right? So whenever we have a, let's test this. Control, no, end. Don't care about the scope. But what do we care about? Do we just end it there? Because we want to do something with it. It's just that we don't really have content for it. It's maybe I want to reference the original there and have the same fragment URI, but maybe with like a hash exclamation point, because we could pull that from somewhere else. Let's try that. I'm kind of liking that idea. So let's go. We should probably be here before we get here, right? Yeah. So you are ending 37. And 37 is wait, 37 in the fragment IDs. 3758 is this one. So then let's take the 4. We wouldn't have scope. And then I need to pull that from the fragment IDs. And then I need to pull that from the stream. And if this is not an array, otherwise we just don't care, then we want to stack it. We want in the current position want to have something like this. Not quite. That didn't work. Oh, this is, yeah. We should have the current one. Right. Now we should have a stream where one of these, a few of these are ending something else. Right. Wait, what's 3? That doesn't seem right. And also in this file, if string position, then we want to strip that out. And then when we put them together in the fragment concatenation, so in this, concat fragment stream, we want this to be v0, then the fragment is again this, but this makes the type into this. Because then we would have an end node and the fragment would just be the content of the original one. That might work. And let's see what this is actually. Oh. Huh. Why do I have that? Hang on. It doesn't seem right. Source public index. It's this. Why do I have a closing one for that? We need to do that for a while. Hyper. So we are down to, for the core, about 7,500 lines. I still want to get down to 5,000 for that. So we're going to have to throw a lot of code out once we get done with the templating. Why do I have this? Wait, and 3 is what? I mean, that doesn't make sense to begin with, right? Yeah, text elements shouldn't have that. Do you just skip it? The question is, why am I putting it in there to begin with? Let's find out. We are doing processing this one. So we want to know when we're streamifying this. We're never getting there. Wait, we should be getting there because we're getting it here. Right? No. Ooh, what's that? This is nonsense as well. Why am I not dealing with these? And what are they referencing? 44. And 44 is what? 44 is 44. And you are word? That doesn't make sense. Maybe we could also put like JSON in the query. And then it would be like scope equals, and then the JSON in there, which should kind of get us scope. Maybe that's cleaner anyhow. Should we do it? Should we do it? Maybe. I'm just wondering because I might have like junk in here. But I can always, well, this is actually easy to pass if I had more than this one, which I usually don't. But that's an option for later. Like this one, why can't you deal with 37? And what is 37? That doesn't make sense. It should reference 36. So maybe that's the issue. Because this one is an H1. This is wrong. Where are we doing that? Copy value, CL. No. And do we ever get there? Nope. Do we never get there? We do. Wait, why wasn't this working? Oh, it's the target, right. Right. So where do we, in here, do the node type end? Probably do it in here. Like we're referencing something within the component and not within the actual thing. Which probably means yeah, that is probably what we're doing. Because down here wait. When we unpack this component, this one, and in here we're getting new fragment IDs. So we would have like an original fragment ID. And then what would we do? We're getting new IDs here. And whenever we hit an end, we need to rewrite that. So this one. Right, so we want a translation table. And then we do a new fragment ID. And we put one in here where it says original fragment ID is actually this. And then we get to the end. It wouldn't be a string though. We're just merging it in here. Huh. I don't think that's correct. What would this look like? No, wait, we're merging in the stream of the injected attributes. And we're getting new fragment IDs here. So I think that is fine. Oh yeah. I've tried using Blender the other day because I'm designing a bed for my daughters. It's a pain. It's not like the old level modeling tools. I can actually show you what I did. Hang on. I made this one here. I'm building that actually, but probably after the vacation. But I made some, hang on, I made this. Made this here. And camera, kind of like here, right? And this is supposed to be the edge that you see here. This one. So I did some woodworking with that. I have a nice router. Yeah. Man of many shallow talents. I just don't want to pay that much money for a bed that doesn't really do what we want. Like you get some high beds like this on Amazon or something, but they're usually bad. And like the material cost, I looked this up the other day, like buying the wood for all these beams and stuff. Yeah, that is true. But the wood cost for this whole thing for 2 beds is probably around 500 euros. And if you buy a ready-made bed that you just have to screw together, you're probably getting one bed that is just half as good as this one. So I don't see the point. I would rather buy power tools and build it myself. But I made these test objects to figure out what the actual hard part of this is. And usually the hard part is precision. Like getting these things to fit into each other. That's you do have to make some precise cuts and use the router well for that. So I'm training myself up to being able to do these things. But it's not that hard. And it's also fun, and you're getting a nice bed out of that. Like this is 3 meters, one beam. They will connect to the ceiling in the room that they're sleeping in. And then you have more room down here, which is good. And more shelf space, which is always in demand. And we're thinking about putting like curtains up on this thing. So that would look nice even. Yeah. And they annoy me about this every single day. When is the bed finished? It's all I'm hearing all day long. And I started in March. And maybe in August or September I will get it done. It's the old saying, let me translate that. If a man promises you something, he will get it done. It's really not necessary to remind him every half year. That's true. Oh, it will be worth it, definitely. They will appreciate it. I hope. No, they will be fine. So if we have the 4, we want to now use the translation. Right? Yeah. That should now give us the right ID. I think. This was fine. Now I wanted to look at the result of this. I think. I mean, the quality is like these beams are like 8 centimeters thick, so they're supporting some weight. And to connect them, I do like 4 different screws, and they're like long screws too. Hang on. Doesn't come out. Sorry for the noise. No. But they're like this long, the screws are. So this will probably survive a blast radius of a nuclear bomb. Maybe. This is still bad. I'm still getting endnotes. But this should not be the first one, right? Wait, I'm making the component. Oh no, this is the end of the component. So I'm going to put that off anyhow. So that's fine, I think. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah. It's usually better to try to recreate something that somebody else does before you go off on your own entirely. So I think that's actually smart. It's not a bad idea. Wait, this is a slot. And this is... Huh. This is wrong, I think. So the end node. And stop thinking that things sound silly. You don't need to do that. From experience, I can tell you that that is usually a waste of time. Jeez. Usually that's a waste of time. Thinking about how things will sound to other people. Ooh, bad idea. No, this is we have next door neighbors, and they're like they're boomers, I think, and they are the worst kind of boomers. They are lawyers, and they have this huge gate in front, and you shouldn't park in front of the gate, but every now and then somebody does, and they are the litigious kind. They get very annoyed, and they will honk until the guy shows up and moves his car. They are probably also the kind of boomers that you don't want to drive behind. Oh god. Boomers. They are taking pictures now. Two boomers are out there in a bathrobe because they probably just got up, and they're taking pictures of the car that is blocking their exit. It's complete cinema. Because you're in Denmark, you lucky fool. I'm not. I wonder why they're wearing their bathrobe. Do they want to go swimming or something? Or to the sauna? They probably want to do the sauna. So the car is blocking the gate, but not entirely. They can get past it, you know? They can drive past it. But that's not a reason to not honk. Somebody else was considerate enough and probably desperate enough to park there, and then considerate enough to not block it entirely. But that's not a reason to not be annoyed and cause some drama. No, because this is we are talking boomers here. Somebody else is in the wrong, and we cannot stand for that. Especially not when we are going to the sauna. And all that honking for what? Yeah, I'm extremely anti-boomer pilled these days. They annoy the heck out of me. Like, seriously. The other day I was on the bike with my kids, and we were driving on the sidewalk because my kids have to drive on the sidewalk and I was driving behind them, and they're kind of slow. So I was a little bit bored, and so I took out my phone and texted somebody. And as I was doing that, there was a boomer on the street on his bike driving past me and making a comment about me being on the phone. I think he said something like, don't mess up the texting or something like that. So this was not like a small street. This was a street where people usually drive like 60 or 70 kilometers per hour. So he was kind of blocking traffic because he cannot drive 60 kilometers an hour. He can do maybe 30 at most. And he had like what they call the slim cycles that you do for racing, a racing cycle, whatever, a bike. And that's like boomers in a nutshell. They will block the traffic and make everybody else go slow while commenting on other people who are doing something slightly off. And there's a huge discussion right now in Germany about boomer pensions, because all the people who told us that all the boomers that told us that all the migrants are going to pay the pensions, they were wrong. As you've seen in Denmark as well. And now suddenly all the pensions are not paid for, but where's the money coming from? So the newest idea that they have is that the richer pensions should pay for the poorer pensions. And they don't like that. Somebody is trying to redistribute their wealth. What's that? So they are now getting like all up in arms about, this younger generation that doesn't have enough children to pay for our pensions. It's like, no, you started that. You started that. That's the boomer generation thing. The boomer generation thing is to have too few kids and tell your kids to not have many kids. And then be annoyed when the social system collapses. And when, strangely enough, all the migrants in the world won't hold up that social system. Cheers. It boggles the mind. Can't get rid of the migrants though, because it's morally right to get them all in here. Just thank your lucky star each day that you live in Denmark. I can guarantee you that every single one of the boomers that are now annoyed that somebody wants to cut into their pension spent the last 20 years lecturing other people about how important it is to share the wealth and to be kind to other people and to invite foreigners into your country so that we can take care of all of them. And now all of a sudden they figure out that equation doesn't add up, weirdly enough. What you need children, and you need to educate your children properly. And then they should get good jobs and make money and hold up the economy and make more children. That is how it has worked for centuries. But not with the boomers, because they know better. Yeah, they are virtue signaling, clearly. But they're the ones who spend their youth lecturing other people about class struggle, and that works all the way until it hits you, and you are now the class struggling. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's weird how that works out. There was a funny... Hang on. Let me look at my bookmarks. This one here. No, hang on. This one. So this is an economist, Marcel Fratscher. He is well known for having the worst ideas in Germany. And in 2016, he made a headline telling us that all the asylum seekers that we're getting in, they will be paying the pensions of the baby boomers. That was 2016. And now in 2025, he has a new idea. And the new idea is that the richer pensioners should pay for the poorer pensioners. So how did that work out? Ah, nice. Yeah. And he's telling us this is not an imposition. This is solidarity, you know? The rich should pay for the poor. It's just basic human rights. Everybody's all up in their human rights all day long. But the one thing we cannot do is we cannot slim down the state. Imagine all the jobs that we would lose if we would get rid of all the people employed by the state. Can't do that. And we can also not stop caring about the climate, because climate is more important. No, the only solution is to have children. It is the only solution. And you should have a slim social system that cares about the unfortunate, because that's fine. That's what you need to keep a society together. And then you need to not spend as much money on the state. Companies can make as much money as they want, and as long as they're properly taxed, it's fine. Why don't you want to have children? They're the best thing in the world. Literally. It's the best decision ever made, to have children. Children are the solution to all the problems that we have. Well-educated, properly instructed children with good parents. That's how you build a culture. But we don't have that anymore. I mean, I obviously don't know you as well. I can just tell you from my own experience that that decision was one of the, if not the best decision that I ever made. Is to be a dad. It's great. You can make dad jokes. At what age? My oldest is 12 now, and I'm 40. So mid-20s. We were actually late, so like 28, I think. But you should get to it in your 20s, definitely. Otherwise you're too old. But you should probably be like early 20s, right? If you just finished school. So you have a few years. but it's the best thing. It's literally the best thing. You should just do it and not think about it. The thought that you should have in your head is, how did you get here? Like existence and stuff. Somebody else made the same decision. And maybe they were not wrong. Maybe all the generations that came before you made a correct decision. It led to your existence. So how bad can it be? Except maybe you're like in that mood of, ooh, I don't want to exist. Existence is a pain that was forced upon me. Like, get a grip. Appreciate the existence that you have and be kind enough to pay it forward. So that's my lecture for today. In your mid-teens? That might be slightly too early. Or maybe that's actually the correct one. Maybe I should have started that early. My kids would be moving out by now then. Huh. That would be neat. Existence is fine. I like existing. Are you getting cynical in your 20s, you say? You know what helps? You know what helps you not get cynical? Can you guess? There's one age-old cure that has helped people over the centuries. Oh, okay, so the other way around. Well, the joke that I wanted to make is that kids help you not get cynical. I also was cynical in my teens. Yeah, kind of. It took me a while. But I think long term, like in your 30s and 40s, if you don't want to then get cynical again, I think children are the only thing that actually helps there. You can distract yourself from it, and many people try, but I think the only real thing is biological. The only solution is biological. AI will be fine. You should get children. Get a wife, a nice one too. Get children. And I have to stop now. See you tomorrow.